Hello everybody, this is Make It Better, and today we're doing What If Deku Was a Swordsman. I do not remember what part, so yeah. So I'm going to put it on the tail, but you guys will know, and I will not. But anyway, the last time we left off was Zuko getting home and making a plan on what Momo should be doing for her training, and he goes to sleep. The very next day, he wakes up, gets ready, putting on some, and getting his backpack and the list that he was planning for Momo, and some books that he was planning to read for his training, since he does need some kind of training. You guys will know what it will be sooner or later. He's following the directions to the point where he's takes a different turn where he expected to be, and he's thinking this that it seems wrong. He's reading the I'm reading the paper right, and it seems like I'm going to another house, and right to the front gates of the Yad, Yad, Yadaruzu mansion. Deku looks at the gate, looks at the name and his paper, and then buzz in. The front guard pretty much let him in, knowing that it's the young man that Momo invited. The door is open, and Zuko is very overwhelmed by the sheer size of the mansion. Zuko can only think, man, I didn't know Momo was this rich. Hmm. But he walks in, up to the front door, and some butler opened the door. Well, he was about to knock, but the butler opened it already. The butler pretty much tells Zuko to wait in the living room for Miss Momo. He does. Well, Zuko pretty much is sitting there and thinking this place is huge. Must be very lonely. And he looks around, see how the room is decorated, trying not to look bored. And he sees something very interesting, and will ask about it later. And maybe he will ask his father about it too. Maybe. He picks up the item, and when he hears some footsteps, he put the item back where it was, and went back to sit down. Momo came in and saying, "Sorry, I'm so late. Sorry." Zuko came back up. I said, "No problem, Momo. It's just 30 minutes late. It's okay. But let's. Where are we going to go for your training?" Momo said, "In the back of our yard, in our gym." Zuko said, "You have a gym?" And she gestured where exactly to have to follow her, and she said, "Yes, I do have a gym," and talking about it. To the gym itself, it's pretty much like a regular pro basketball court gym. That big of it. Just to let you guys know how rich she really is. But she asked Zuko what her training was going to be. Zuko asked her a bunch of questions on what fighting styles can she do. She said none. Zuko said, "Okay." Follow up question: what weapons can you use, or do you want to learn? She said she can use shield at the beginner level and staff for medium level. Zook said, okay. Do you want to learn any new fighting styles or want to improve those two? She said she wants to improve the two. Zook said, okay, can you create those I'll show you how to make them, how to work with it. She creates one, give it to her herself, and another one to Zuko. Zuko's holding it up. You feel it? He's holding it with one hand, turning around, going back around, kind of like how most professional does it, getting the feel of the very weapon. And Zuko is now explaining everything about the staff. Now, first, he asks Momo to fight against him. All be very serious about it, only using that very weapon. And I'll tell you what's wrong and how you can improve it as we fight. Does that sound good? She nods. Zuko bows. She bows, and the fight begins. The big, with Momo did a big swing to Zuko. Zuko blocked it in the middle and told her to adjust her hips just slightly, but move with the post, the staff, with it to make that a more powerful swing, to give it a bit more of a kick. And she nods, and then she did another one, and Zuko said, "Remember, your staff can be hit every angle. It can also be like this." And he did a stabbing motion, almost to her stomach, but not hitting her, and saying like that, kind of like a spear now. She nods, and in her head, she's thinking he's using the staff as a multiple weapons. Huh? Never knew he would use this, and she's still fighting against him. Some wild swings. Zuko's just telling her how to make it more proficient and stronger. And then when she gets tired, she put down the staff and start to get tired. Well, start breathing heavier. Zuko sees this and said, "Oh, I guess we need to work on your stamina too. Let's do one more hour, and then we can take a break. That sound good?" And Momo's breathing heavily and said, "Okay, one more hour." And she start fighting. It's much weaker, but Zuko would just tell her on her stances and not tell her to do any more stronger swings. Now he's telling her how to hold the staff in certain points, using right hand up and left hand down, or another swing, left hand up and then right hand down, or together, or spread about and about to block. All those stuff, and her feet as well. Zuko, and an hour has passed. Zuko said, "Okay, that'll be enough for today." Oh, and Momo asked for more questions about all the flying styles. Zuko pretty much answered all of it about the very part. And Zuko actually pulled up a paper and showed Momo the paper. Momo's reading this, and um, Zuko asked, answer. Actually, this is all my idea, my plan for you. But since I didn't know how your physical body or training is, this is my not rough idea. Just check on the marks that you have done, and I'll figure out the rest tomorrow or later in the time. Sounds good? She said yes, and Zuko was pretty much packing up. And Momo said, "Wait, wait, wait, are you leaving?" And she's like twirling her hair. Zuko said, "Yes, I believe we were done." Momo asked, "Why not just study with me with some books and help me study as well?" Zuko thinks about this. Hmm. Yeah, sure. Uh, do you have like a place where I can just work on my stuff and we go from there? She said, yeah, in our spring living room. Zook said, you have a spring living room. Huh. Yeah, pretty cool, I guess. And he said this under his breath where she can barely hear it, but she didn't want to ask more questions. She directs him to this area, and she got her books and settled it down in front of him, which she has five books as thick, about 5 inches thick on each book. Zuko said, "Wow, I didn't know you were going to be this serious about your studying." She said, "No, no, this is for me, my quirk. I did I explain to you about my quirk?" And Zuko said, "No, you actually haven't." And she explained her quirk. Basically, her quirk more detail in one item, the perfect and more stronger it can be. Zuko find this very interesting and asked some questions about it. And she's enjoying herself answering questions that most people are too afraid to ask. But Zuko actually brought out some books, and she's asking, "Are we? Uh, those books didn't seem like the ones that we study for." Zuko said, "Oh, sorry. I This one is more of a technique of my family. This one person, she was very in depth with poisons and how the body works. So I want to learn more about that." And Momo asks some questions, and Zuko answers. He's pretty much saying that this girl, she really liked butterflies. If you know the anime of the Demon Slayer, the girl with butterflies, her blade was just a inch up on the very tip, purple. That's it, nothing else. But Zuko will also turn purple when he mastered this technique. And I know she's very good with poison, and she's very good with cutting small pieces parts. That's enough to actually make you stay still. All the joints in arms, wrist, and well, everywhere. Cutting off the muscles, pretty much. The important ones, not the ones that are all around. The important ones. Zuko doesn't say that, but that's what I mean. And he's reading it, and she's reading it. It's pretty quiet. Zuko is scratching his head and said, no, Momo. And she perked up. Yes? Zuko asked her a question on this. I believe this will help you with your quirk. A surgical knife? A question. Are you able to deform the very material to make it more useful for the user? Momo thinks about it. Never tried. And Zuko actually moved his stuff closer to her, right next to her, almost blushing at this point. And Zuko actually pointed out to this. See, like, the surgical knife is perfectly sized and meant to cut small wounds, meant for cutting through the skin. Momo said yes. And Zuko asked, are you able to, like, make it as long as a blade? Or is that too much? And he kind of looks at her, almost thinking about this, and then when she turned her head, let me say, Momo's on her left, on the left side, Zuko's on his right, on the right. As you can see, Zuko looked right direct to her, and when Momo looked right at Zuko, they were 3 inches away from each other's faces. She was about to say something, but she said, "Oh." Zuko said, "What? Is there something wrong?" And she said, no, and she looks back forward. She said, I'll try it. Oh, and she's focusing on the thing. It says the material. She's reading it, and she's forming it on her wrist. it's pulling out to the same size as the surgical knife, and she pulled it out. And Zuko said, "Okay, now we know you can do that. Are you able to make it bigger or make it just not one part but the whole thing?" And Momo said, "Okay, okay, I'll try it." And she thinks about it, and she pulls out the very same thing. And Zuko said, "Okay, I um, did you? What were you thinking of making it?" And she just thought one side to be more of a blade than the other side. Zuko said, "Huh, I guess your quirk can't go that far out of your. Oh, can you? This will be more of a question. If can you make something that doesn't exist and make it useful?" And she asked, "Like what?" Like, and Zuko said, "How about a lightsaber?" And like those old movies of I believe Star Wars. Momo said, "Oh, my father used to tell me about that." Zuko said, "Yeah, those things that look like swords but only have a hilt and the rest is plasma. Are you able to make that? If I give you the right material, are you able to make it?" Momo thinks and said, "I'll give it a try." Now they go off track and try to figure out if she can do it. What I'm doing is this: they're gonna be more comfortable to each other for this. But at the end, when she tries to make the lightsaber, she makes a perfect replica. The only thing is, she can't make it work. Zuko said, "Well, that was like past 30 minutes, and I guess we know that your quirk can't go that far. Well, at least we know your limits." Momo was kind of like bummed about this, hoping that she was gonna make a real lightsaber. And she kind of like looks at it and try to figure out any ways to make it work. But Zuko actually picked it up out of her hands and said, "You know, this is technically our first project on figuring out if your quirk was strong enough or not." But and he kind of looks at her and said, "Well, now we know your limits. You say you can't make solid, liquids, or gases, but now we know. Now both of us know that you can't make a fictional stuff uh, non-fic to be a non-fictional, making it real." Momo said, "Yeah, yeah, huh, okay, sorry about that." But Zuko looked at his watch and said, "Oh, well, Momo," and she said yes. Zuko kind of looks at the windows, and she looks where he's looking and sees it's dark out. And Zuko said, "Well, I guess I had to go." Momo sadly had to agree because it's very late and said, "Will you be coming tomorrow?" In a happy tone. Zuko noticed this and said, "Yeah, I'll come tomorrow. And we'll train just like today." So the next 2 weeks, they were training together, improving her style, and Zuko was improving his style. And when he gets home, he starts swinging the sword in a way that this next master have done it, where she's using the blade that turns purple as for surgical incisions. Now, the 2 weeks are up and they're going back to school. As Aizawa pretty much telling them that it's gonna be earlier, it's gonna be the very next day, and he leaves. Everything went the same for the whole school day. Ajiro and Tokoyami asked Zuko about his training, and Zuko pretty much just told him, no, those are dogs. Sorry, I am at my land right now, and I see big animals out in the distance, and I thought those were coyotes, but they're just wolves, and they're just dogs right now. Sorry about that. Where was I? Okay, Zuko pretty much telling them. Sorry about that. I had to pause it for a second. I believe those dogs were about to mess with my goats. Hopefully they don't mess with it. Okay, back to it. And Zuko tells them about his training, and he's just working on another master's regiment. He doesn't really put much detail into it. Zuko was about to leave, and Momo was right next to him, and tell her, and she tell him that good luck with the sports festival. And Deku replied, "You too. I believe we'll be on the very top, I guess." And Bakugo shoves Zuko out of the way and said, "Move it, extra." But Zuko didn't mind it because when he moved him, it kind of hurt Bakugo because he didn't expect the damn nerd to be so strong and impossible to move. And that very scene of a bunch of the other classes are checking out Class 1A and how they are acting. But the only difference is Zuko just, he kind of like asked them politely to move when they said no. And he's talking to Momo now. And Momo said, "Huh, I bet your stupid quirk won't be able to beat mine." And Zuko kind of like smiles and said, "Well, I guess we're going to figure that out sooner or later in the festival, huh?" And Zuko's like slowly pulling out, having his knife come out just a bit. But Momo chimes in and tells him, uh, "Hey, Midoriya, I have some more questions about something," and start mumbling. And Zuko just got pulled from by Momo away from that situation, and they just left. Zuko asked, "Sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say?" And Momo said, "Oh, never mind. I guess it wasn't too much to ask." And she leaves. Anjuro and Tokoyami see this and think they should ask, but maybe later. It's really hard to make this couple thing, even though I can't really find the perfect time. I don't want to hold it back, but it's still hard to think about it. Hold on. So let's skip to the next day, where they are being taken to the festival. As they are, the guys are pretty much Zuko is talking with the guys and saying who's how strong everybody has gone, but Momo is talking with all the girls. Really? Oh well. Sorry. Well, the girls, and she's very out of it right now. She's still thinking about Zuko, and Jiro actually chimes in and asks Momo uh, how her training been doing. She said, "Yeah, pretty good. I've been getting some help from one of the guys. And Araka said, one of the guys? Do you mean you seem very close with Midoriya? And the girls are playing it together, and they're all thinking that Momo has a crush on Midoriya. Momo kind of like blushes and said, "Well, no, not it's not." Uh, and Mina chimes in and said, "So do you like him or you don't?" And Momo saying nothing at this point, and Mina actually thinking of a trick. She said, "So you don't like him? Great. I'm gonna ask him out right after we get off this bus." And Momo turned around and said, "Don't, no, 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 I don't do it. I mean, uh, uh, yes, I do like him." And she covered her face because she's blushing right now. But she said it quiet enough where only the girls can hear it. Some of the guys heard it, but they didn't care for it. And those are the other guys that are not really that close with Midoriya. Sugarman, the animal guy, and Acero. Those three heard it, but they'll say it sooner or later. Now they're getting off the bus and getting ready for everything. The girls getting changed, the guys are getting changed, and they're all staying in that very room. Now that very scene in canon where Todoroki standing in front of Bakugo and Midoriya and saying that he's going to fight them with only his ice powers. And Zuko said, "Well, that seems like a handicap, don't you think?" Bakugo just said, "I don't care what handicap you are. I'm gonna defeat all of you and become the number one hero." And he's laughing hysterically. And Deku actually ignores that and says to Sholo, "You know, if you're gonna hold back, I guess I should hold back too. There's no means of actually going all fours against you, right?" Todoroki said, "No, you have to fight me with your all." And Zuko said, "Oh, but you're not fighting with your all." Hmm, I think that's seemingly unfair, don't you think? Tokuro, I mean, Tokuro, Tokuro, Tokuro Shoto, sorry. I didn't even remember his freaking last name. But Shodoroki pretty much told him to fight, to try to say something, but they were all called in to be in the stadium. All the classes come in, and Miss Midnight comes up being all herself. I'm not gonna put much in depth on what she's doing, but same thing in canon. She asked for the top student in class 1A, and Zuko says thank you and walks up to the stage. He's given a speech about this what he says. "Hello everybody, this is I am Zuko Midoriya, class 1A, for now the top class, top the student class, and I want to say this: I'm gonna win." And pretty much put the mic back and walks off the stage. He kind of like give a stupid grin as he's walking down, trying to cover it up, but everybody can notice that he's just grinning at that point. Bakugo said, "I would have done the same. I would have done the same." Yeah. The guys are kind of like laughing, and the girls are don't know what to say to Zuko because he did what most of them would have done too. Momo actually asked him, Zuko, why did you do that? Zuko said, well, I already know that we're going to have a target on our back, so I'll just make it force all of it on me. So you guys will have a chance, and I'll have fun with the whole thing. And one of the students